There's a question that echoes in the hearts of many. Can I really run from God? The truth is, many try. Some run with their feet, some run with their silence, and some run with excuses. But the reality remains, no one can outrun the presence of the Almighty. He is not bound by time, distance, or the walls we build around our hearts. He knows where you are, not to condemn you, but to bring you back into the center of His perfect plan. Often, when God places a call upon a life, it feels bigger than our strength. Fear whispers, you can't do this. Guilt says, you're not worthy. And doubt builds a wall. So instead of saying, yes, Lord, we choose the road that leads in the opposite direction. But running doesn't make His voice silent. It only makes our hearts heavier. You may leave the place of your calling, but you can never leave the one who called you. Running from God always seems easy at first. The path may look wide and comfortable, but soon the weight of disobedience presses on the soul. Peace disappears, joy fades, and the heart begins to thirst for the very presence it tried to escape. God does not chase us in anger. He pursues us in love. His love is relentless, not because He wants to control us, but because He wants to restore us. Every detour, every hiding place, every closed door becomes a reminder you were created with a purpose. No storm, no mistake, and no fear can erase the plan of God over your life. His purpose stands firm even when you try to run from it. The longer you run, the more you discover. There's nowhere safer, stronger, or sweeter than being where God wants you to be. Surrender is not weakness. It's the beginning of real strength. When a heart finally stops running and says, here I am, Lord, everything changes. Peace returns. Joy flows again. Direction becomes clear. What once felt impossible becomes a divine assignment wrapped in grace. Running delays destiny, but surrender unlocks it. Today, ask yourself, what am I running from? A calling, a conviction, a season of change. Whatever it is, remember, you can't outrun the one who created your path. His arms are not to punish, but to welcome you home. Don't wait for the storm to bring you back. Come willingly. Step into your purpose. The race ends not in your hiding, but in your return to His plan. When people try to run from God, they often believe they can escape His reach. But what they don't realize is that His presence surrounds everything and everyone. No matter how far one goes, no matter how carefully one hides, God's purpose remains attached to their life. Running may bring temporary silence, but it can never erase the voice of the one who calls. The heart becomes restless because deep down it knows where it truly belongs. When someone walks away from God's direction, they may experience moments of false comfort, but soon the weight of disobedience begins to press on their soul. Peace slips away quietly, joy loses its strength, and the sense of purpose begins to fade. God doesn't pursue out of anger. He moves with love that refuses to give up. His love follows through dark valleys, crowded cities, and silent nights. It speaks gently through circumstances, nudging the heart back toward the right path. Every closed door, every wrong turn, and every detour becomes a reminder of the plan that still stands. His purpose doesn't weaken with time or distance, it waits for surrender. Many people believe surrender means losing control. But in truth, surrender is the moment when real strength begins to grow. It is the point where fear loses its grip, guilt loses its voice, and the heart finally finds rest. Running only delays the fulfillment of destiny. It never destroys it. The moment a person stops running and whispers with sincerity, I am here, everything begins to shift. Joy flows like a river, peace settles like calm after a storm, and direction becomes clear again. God's arms are not a place of punishment, but a place of restoration and purpose. No mistake, fear, or failure is stronger than His plan. Trying to hide from the one who created your path only leads to exhaustion and emptiness. Returning leads to freedom, clarity, and strength. The heart that was once heavy becomes light again, and the soul rediscovers its true home. In the end, no one can truly run from God, because His love runs faster, His grace reaches deeper, and His purpose stands stronger than any attempt to hide. When people choose to run from God, it is often not because they hate Him, but because they fear the weight of His calling. Many convince themselves that if they go far enough, stay busy enough, or build strong enough walls around their hearts, they can escape His voice. But God's presence is not confined by distance or time. It is constant and inescapable. Even in the darkest places or in the loudest distractions, His voice finds its way to the soul. When a person tries to ignore that voice, their heart becomes unsettled. There may be moments of false peace, but deep within, a quiet restlessness begins to grow. Every step away from His will feels heavy because it goes against the purpose that was woven into their very being. God does not stop calling. He does not turn away in anger. His love follows with quiet persistence, waiting for the moment of surrender. Life may offer detours, but none of them can change the destination He has prepared. Each missed opportunity, each closed door, and each wrong turn becomes a gentle reminder that His plan still stands. His voice may be patient, but it never disappears. Surrendering to God after running is not a sign of weakness. It is a return to strength. When the heart finally stops resisting, peace begins to flow in like sunlight breaking through clouds. The confusion that once filled the mind is replaced with clarity. Joy that seemed distant returns with new strength, and what once felt like an unbearable calling now becomes a divine purpose wrapped in grace. God doesn't use guilt to draw people back. He uses love, mercy, and unshakable faithfulness. The path may have detours, but His arms remain wide open for those who return. No distance can make Him give up, and no mistake can erase what He has planned. Running delays destiny, but surrender activates it. In the moment of true return, the soul finds rest it could never find in hiding. God's love runs faster than human escape. His grace reaches deeper than failure, and His plan stands stronger than fear. In the end, no one can truly outrun Him, because His love never stops pursuing. When a person begins to run from God, it usually starts quietly. It might not even look like running at first. It can begin with avoiding prayer, ignoring conviction, or pushing away the gentle tug of purpose. The heart tries to find comfort in distractions, but deep down it knows something is missing. No matter how far someone goes or how hard they try to fill the emptiness with other things, they can't escape the presence of God. His presence is not limited by location or silence. It reaches into the darkest places and the loudest moments. The more a person runs, the more unsettled their spirit becomes, because running from God is running away from peace itself. He is not waiting with anger or punishment. He is watching with love, patiently calling, waiting for the heart to turn back. Life may give the illusion of control, but true control comes only when a person is aligned with their divine purpose. The longer someone runs, the heavier their soul becomes. Every wrong turn leads to more confusion, and every detour creates a greater thirst for what was left behind. God's plan doesn't fade because of delay. It waits. It stands firm like an anchor, unshaken by fear, guilt, or rebellion. Many believe that if they ignore the call long enough, it will disappear. But God's voice is not like an echo that fades away. It is like a river that continues to flow even when the world is silent. The heart begins to feel the weight of distance from the one it was created for. Fear grows, guilt deepens, and joy begins to vanish. God doesn't chase with force. He pursues with mercy. Every closed door, every moment of emptiness, and every feeling of restlessness becomes a sign pointing back to Him. He does not give up easily, and He never lets go of a life He has marked with purpose. When the heart finally stops running and surrenders, everything begins to change. What once felt like fear turns into strength, and what once felt like loss becomes a new beginning. Surrender is not defeat, it is a return to the original design. Peace that was buried under layers of fear and guilt begins to flow again. Joy rises, purpose awakens, and the soul feels alive once more. No matter how far someone has gone, God's love has already gone farther. No matter how many steps they've taken away, one step back opens the way home. Running may delay destiny, but it can never destroy it. His grace always waits to rebuild, restore, and reignite the purpose within. When a person begins to run from God, they may not even realize what they are doing at first. It often starts with small compromises, quiet resistance, or the choice to silence that inner voice that gently calls them toward purpose. Instead of confronting fear or surrendering to God's will, they try to escape it. They may fill their life with noise, distractions, or business, thinking that distance can erase what is written over their life. But no matter how far they run, they can never escape the presence of the one who sees all and loves completely. The heart may try to build walls, but His love moves through every barrier. The soul cannot hide from the one who created it, because His presence is constant, unshaken by time or distance. Running may seem easier than facing obedience, but it only creates a deeper emptiness that cannot be filled with anything else. As the distance grows, the weight of disobedience begins to settle in. Peace starts to fade quietly, and joy becomes harder to hold. No amount of distractions can cover the quiet restlessness in the soul. People often believe that if they run long enough, the call will weaken, but God's voice does not fade like a whisper. It remains steady like a river that never stops flowing. Fear tries to convince the heart that it is safer to stay hidden, but hiding from purpose only leads to more confusion. Each wrong turn, each detour, and each missed opportunity becomes a reminder that His plan still stands firm. God does not chase with anger, but pursues with gentle mercy, using life itself as a teacher, allowing circumstances to guide the heart back home. When the heart finally grows tired of running, something begins to shift inside. The noise loses its power, the distractions lose their strength, and the soul starts longing for the place it once ran from. It is in that quiet moment that surrender becomes possible. Surrender is not a sign of weakness, but the doorway to real strength. When a person says, "I'm done running," they are not losing control. They are returning to the one who gave them a purpose bigger than their fear. Peace returns like sunlight after a long storm, and joy begins to flow freely again. Even after all the running, God's arms remain open. His grace is never too late, and His purpose is never lost. One step back is all it takes to feel the weight of fear lift and the warmth of divine love surround the heart. Running may delay the journey, but it cannot destroy the destination. His plan is stronger than fear, deeper than guilt, and more patient than time itself. No matter how far someone goes, God's love always goes farther, and His mercy always waits to lead them home. When a person begins to run from God, it rarely happens all at once. It often begins with small moments of resistance, quiet excuses, and the decision to avoid the gentle pull on the heart. People try to silence that inner voice by surrounding themselves with distractions. But the truth is that God's presence cannot be escaped. No wall is strong enough, no distance is far enough, and no darkness is deep enough to keep Him away. His love reaches into every hidden place, even when someone tries to turn away. Running may feel like freedom at first, but it quickly becomes a path filled with restlessness and emptiness. The heart knows where it truly belongs, and no amount of distraction can erase that inner truth. As time goes on, the weight of running becomes heavier. The peace that once felt natural slowly fades, and joy becomes difficult to hold. A sense of distance grows between the person and the purpose they were created for. God does not stop calling, even when people try to drown out His voice. His presence moves quietly through moments of silence, through unexpected reminders, through circumstances that gently lead the heart back. Fear tries to convince people that they are safer on their own, but hiding from a divine calling only creates more confusion and pain. The soul grows weary because it is trying to live outside of its design. Every detour a person takes becomes a reminder of what they are truly running from. God's plan does not disappear because of delay. It patiently waits. His purpose stands firm even when people wander. Life may offer temporary comfort, but it cannot replace the peace that comes from walking in His will. The further someone goes, the clearer the emptiness becomes. What once felt like control begins to feel like a prison, not because God forces anyone to return, but because the heart is built to be close to Him. His love does not chase with force, but with patience, using mercy to speak louder than fear. When the heart grows tired of the distance, surrender becomes the only way forward. Surrender is not a loss, it is the beginning of true strength. The moment a person stops resisting and turns back, peace floods in like sunlight after a long storm. The guilt that once felt heavy is lifted, and joy that seemed distant returns with new strength. In that quiet moment of surrender, the heart finds what it was always searching for. It realizes that running only delayed what love was ready to give. No matter how far someone has gone, God's arms remain open. His grace does not expire with time, and His purpose cannot be erased by mistakes. The journey back does not require perfection, only a willing heart. One step toward Him is enough to begin again. His love runs faster than human fear. His mercy reaches deeper than failure, and His purpose stands stronger than any attempt to escape. Running may delay destiny, but it can never destroy it. In the end, His love always wins. When someone begins to run from God, it often starts quietly, almost unnoticed. It can begin with ignoring gentle convictions, avoiding moments of prayer, or choosing to silence the voice that calls them toward purpose. It may seem easier to escape than to face what feels too big to handle. Many believe that distance can dull the sound of a divine calling, but it never does. God's presence cannot be escaped because it surrounds everything and reaches everywhere. Even in silence, His voice remains steady, and even in hiding, His love remains near. Running may bring temporary relief, but it always carries a weight that the heart cannot ignore forever. As the distance between a person and their purpose grows, the weight of disobedience begins to settle in like a quiet shadow. Peace that once felt natural begins to fade, and joy that once came easily begins to weaken. Fear often convinces people that God is waiting with punishment, but He is actually waiting with open arms. His voice does not shout in anger, it whispers with patience. Every step away does not erase the plan, but simply delays it. God allows moments, circumstances, and even silence to become reminders of the path He set before them. The soul feels restless because it was never meant to live apart from its true calling. Over time, the detours become heavier than the road they were running from. Life away from God may seem easier at first, but it begins to feel empty and without direction. Every wrong turn, every closed door, every failed attempt to fill the void becomes a sign pointing back to Him. His love is relentless but gentle. It does not force anyone back. It patiently waits for a willing heart. The heart begins to feel the gap between what it was made for and where it has chosen to be. That gap creates a longing, a silent pull toward home that no distraction can satisfy. Eventually, the person who runs realizes that surrender is not weakness, but freedom. Returning to God does not mean losing control. It means stepping into the life they were always meant to live. When the heart finally says yes, peace flows in like a river after a long drought. Joy returns, strength is renewed, and clarity replaces confusion. It is not God's anger that draws people back, but His love that never gives up. Even after running for so long, God's grace remains the same. He does not keep a record of distance or time. One step toward Him is enough to feel the weight of guilt lift and the warmth of mercy settle in. His plan is not erased by failure, but reignited through surrender. No one can run so far that His love cannot reach them. His arms stay open, waiting, patient, and strong. In the end, running from God only leads to exhaustion, but returning leads to restoration. Fear loses its grip, guilt loses its voice, and purpose awakens again. His love runs faster than human escape, and His mercy reaches deeper than any mistake. What was delayed can still be fulfilled, and what was broken can still be restored. No matter how far someone goes, God's love always goes farther, patiently waiting to bring them home. When a person begins to run from God, it rarely happens in an instant. It often begins with small steps, quiet excuses, and moments of resistance that seem harmless at first. They may ignore that inner tug on their heart, avoid the quiet moments where truth speaks loudest, and try to drown out the gentle voice that calls them to walk in purpose. Running can look like hiding behind business, chasing distractions, or convincing themselves they're fine without listening. But God's presence cannot be escaped. It stretches far beyond distance and silence, reaching even into the places a heart tries hardest to hide. As this distance grows, the soul begins to change. The peace that once felt natural slowly slips away, replaced by restlessness that can't be silenced. Joy becomes harder to hold on to, and everything that once felt secure starts to feel uncertain. God's voice does not disappear during this time. It patiently follows, speaking softly through moments, people, and circumstances. Fear tries to convince the heart that returning would bring judgment, but God is not waiting with anger. He is waiting with arms wide open, ready to welcome back the one who runs. Every path away from God eventually reaches a point of emptiness. The detours seem appealing at first, but they lead to heavy roads. The world may offer temporary comfort, but it cannot fill the space designed for divine purpose. The more a person runs, the clearer the gap between who they are and who they were made to be. Each wrong turn becomes a quiet reminder of the unshakable plan God set before them. His love doesn't fade when people wander. It becomes a steady light in the distance, guiding the way home. Over time, the heart grows tired of carrying the weight of disobedience. It realizes that the running is harder than the calling ever was. Fear starts to lose its voice, and longing grows stronger. This longing is not born of guilt, but of design. The soul was created to be near God, and no distance can change that truth. In the quiet moments of exhaustion, the heart begins to remember where peace was last felt. Surrender begins as a whisper, a small decision to stop resisting. It is not weakness, but strength born from letting go of fear. When the heart turns back, peace rushes in like a gentle flood, wiping away the noise that once seemed louder than truth. Joy, which seemed distant, returns with new strength, and clarity begins to light the path again. What was delayed is not lost, because God's purpose stands firm. Even after years of running, God's love does not change. His grace is not limited by distance or time. One step toward Him is enough to awaken hope again. He does not demand perfection. He simply desires a willing heart. The weight of guilt and shame is lifted the moment the heart chooses to return. His arms are open, His mercy unshaken, and His plan still alive. In the end, no one can truly outrun God. His love reaches farther than fear. His grace runs deeper than failure. And His purpose waits patiently until the heart is ready to say yes again. Running may cause delay, but it can never destroy what He has spoken. The soul that once fled finds home again, not in punishment, but in the embrace of a love that never stopped pursuing. When a person begins to run from God, it usually happens quietly, almost unnoticed at first. It may begin with small decisions to ignore gentle convictions, avoiding the stillness where truth speaks the loudest. People often believe that distancing themselves will silence the call they are not ready to answer. They build walls around their hearts, surround themselves with distractions, and convince themselves that running is freedom. But God's presence cannot be escaped. It stretches beyond time and distance, reaching into the deepest hiding places, not to condemn but to restore. As this distance grows, a change begins to take place in the heart. Peace slowly slips away and is replaced by a quiet, persistent restlessness. The joy that once came easily begins to fade, and even the things that once felt fulfilling lose their meaning. God's voice does not grow weaker when people run. It remains steady, speaking through moments, whispers, and circumstances. Fear tries to make people believe that God is waiting with anger, but He is not. He is waiting with patience, with arms wide open, ready to welcome them back home. The detours that seem so attractive at first begin to reveal their weight. Every step away from divine purpose becomes heavier than the last. Life outside of God's direction can give the illusion of freedom, but it slowly turns into chains that tighten over time. Each wrong turn becomes a quiet reminder of the unshakable plan that still stands. His love does not fade when someone wanders. It stands like a light in the distance, shining steadily, calling them back to the place of peace. Eventually, the soul grows tired of running. The noise that once drowned out truth starts to lose its power. The distractions that once felt comforting lose their grip. In the quiet moments of weariness, the heart remembers where true peace was last found. It realizes that what it was running from is actually what it needs most. The call does not disappear with time. It waits patiently for a response. Surrender does not begin as a loud declaration, but as a quiet decision. It is not weakness, but the beginning of real strength. When the heart finally turns back, peace flows in like a river after a long drought. Joy returns, and the weight of fear begins to lift. What once felt impossible suddenly becomes clear, because returning to God brings clarity and rest. Even after running far and long, God's love remains unchanged. His grace is not bound by time or distance. One sincere step toward Him is enough to break the chains of guilt and silence the voice of fear. He does not demand perfection, only a willing heart. His mercy is wide, His arms are open, and His plan is still alive. Running from God may delay what He intended, but it can never destroy it. His purpose is stronger than fear, louder than shame, and more patient than time. No failure is too great, and no distance is too far for His love to reach. What once felt like a lost path becomes a road of return. In the end, running only leads to emptiness, but returning leads to restoration. The love of God runs faster than fear and reaches deeper than failure. The moment the heart chooses to stop running is the moment everything begins to change. Peace returns, joy awakens, and destiny is reignited. His love never stops pursuing, and His mercy never runs out. When a person begins to run from God, it often starts with a quiet resistance that seems harmless. It may be avoiding the stillness where truth speaks, ignoring gentle conviction, or convincing themselves that the call on their life can be postponed. Running can take many forms, not always in actions, but often in the heart. They may try to fill their life with distractions to drown out the sound of that inner voice. But no matter how far they go, the presence of God cannot be escaped. His love is not limited by distance, and His reach extends far beyond any attempt to hide. As the distance grows, something begins to shift inside. The peace that once felt natural slowly fades away, replaced by a quiet emptiness that nothing else can satisfy. Joy becomes distant, and even achievements begin to feel hollow. God's voice does not grow weaker. During this time, it remains steady, whispering through circumstances and moments that remind the heart of its true home. Fear tries to paint God as a judge waiting to condemn, but He is not standing with anger. He is waiting with love and patience. Every wrong turn and every detour begins to reveal the weight of trying to live outside of divine purpose. At first, the path away may feel easy, but over time it becomes heavier. Life without alignment to God's plan is like trying to sail without wind. Everything seems slower, harder, and less fulfilling. The heart feels the gap between where it is and where it belongs. His love shines like a distant light, not forcing the heart to return, but patiently guiding it home. As the soul grows tired of running, the noise begins to lose its power. The distractions that once seemed comforting begin to feel empty. In that quiet moment of exhaustion, the heart remembers the peace it left behind. It begins to understand that what it feared was not punishment, but the power of unconditional love. The calling that was once ignored has not disappeared. It waits gently, unshaken by time. Surrender is not a loud or dramatic act. It often begins with a small, sincere decision. It is the moment the heart stops fighting and starts listening. Peace then enters like soft rain after a dry season. Joy that was distant returns, and the soul feels alive again. The burdens that came with running begin to fall away. Even after all the distance, God's love remains the same. His mercy does not expire, and His purpose does not fade. One step toward Him is enough to break the weight of guilt and silence the voice of fear. He does not require perfection to return, only a willing heart. His arms stay open, steady and strong, ready to restore what was lost. Running may delay the destiny designed by God, but it can never destroy it. His purpose is greater than fear, deeper than shame, and more patient than time itself. No mistake is too big, no road too long, and no failure too final to keep Him away. In the end, running leads to exhaustion, but returning brings restoration. When the heart chooses to stop running, everything begins to change. Peace flows back in, joy awakens, and direction becomes clear again. The love of God always runs faster than fear and reaches farther than failure. No matter how far someone has gone, His love waits patiently, ready to restore, renew, and reignite their purpose the moment they return. When a person begins to run from God, it often happens quietly and gradually. It can start with ignoring the gentle pull of purpose, avoiding the silence where truth is the loudest, or convincing themselves that what they feel can wait. Running is not always with the feet. Often it begins in the heart. People build walls, chase distractions, and try to silence the inner voice that keeps calling. But no distance is far enough to escape His presence. His love reaches through every wall and every excuse, waiting for the heart to return. As time passes, something begins to shift deep inside. The peace that once felt natural starts to slip away, replaced by a quiet emptiness. The joy that once felt alive becomes distant. Even moments of success begin to feel incomplete. God's voice does not grow weaker in the distance. It remains constant, speaking softly through moments, people, and circumstances. Fear tries to make people believe that God is waiting with punishment, but He is waiting with patience and love. The further someone runs, the heavier the journey becomes. At first, it may feel like freedom, but that feeling fades as the weight of disobedience grows. Every step away adds more restlessness to the soul. Life outside of His purpose begins to lose its color. No matter how hard a person tries to fill the emptiness, it remains because only His presence satisfies. The calling remains steady, waiting. Every detour becomes a quiet reminder of what the heart is running from. God does not force anyone back. His love patiently shines like a light in the distance. It does not fade when people wander. It stays, guiding them toward peace. Fear may grow loud, but his voice remains steady, never changing, never leaving. When the noise of distraction starts to lose its power, the soul begins to remember. It remembers the place where peace was last felt, the closeness it once had, the joy that cannot be found elsewhere. That longing grows stronger than the fear that once controlled the heart. The running becomes tiring. Surrender begins not with a shout, but with a whisper. It is a quiet decision, a turning point where the heart stops resisting. In that moment, peace enters like a gentle river. Joy begins to rise again, and the burden of guilt begins to fall away. God's love remains unchanged, no matter how long someone has run. His mercy is not limited by time, and His purpose is not erased by mistakes. One step toward Him is enough to bring everything back into alignment. Running may delay what He has planned, but it can never destroy it. His purpose is stronger than fear and more patient than time. No failure is too great to keep Him away. When the heart chooses to stop running, everything begins to shift. Confusion gives way to clarity, emptiness turns into peace, and the soul finds its place again. The love of God runs faster than fear and reaches deeper than failure. No matter how far someone goes, His arms remain open, ready to restore, renew, and embrace those who return.